Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reinventing the White Coat. Today, I am so excited to speak with Dr. Robyn Tiger. Robyn is a physician who transitioned from radiology to lifestyle medicine, is the founder of Stress Free MD, and today is referred to as the doctor's doctor. So, Robyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor.
Great. So, I mean, there are so many things that I really would love to dig into with you today, but really what I'd love to start with, if it's okay with you, how did you get here? Like, how did you become a radiologist who turns into a lifestyle medicine doc? What's your story?
Yeah. My story is that I became the patient essentially. And I, several years ago, started developing lots of symptoms that seemed completely disconnected, that didn't make any sense to me as a radiologist, and didn't make any sense to so many other physicians that I went to see as a patient. And things were like migraine headaches with vomiting, vertigo, tinnitus, body pain, poor digestion, bowel habits all over the place.
Oh,
I had bleeding gums. Um, I I had all these crazy things happening, and then the scariest thing was that I developed these intermittent paresthesias where my hands and my feet would just go numb, and I would be in the middle of a breast biopsy and I couldn't feel the gun anymore.
oh my God.
It was terrifying. And my tech would be like, "Hey, Dr. Tiger, you're right there at the lesion." Kind of like, "What are you doing?" And I would just say, "Yeah, okay, I'm just checking in to make sure that I'm right where I want to be." And the truth is, I just knew I had to wait for this thing to pass. I'd be driving a car, I'd be like the steering wheel, couldn't feel it, cutting up vegetables, couldn't feel the knife in my hand. And that was actually the most terrifying of all of the symptoms. And I went to so many different doctors. I saw gastroenterologists, I saw periodontist, I saw a neurologist. I had all kinds of therapy, OT, PT, acupuncture, physiatry. Gosh, I saw so many specialists and had so many imaging studies and so many lab tests, and everything was negative. Labs are negative, imaging was negative. I had a pile of pills that I would take every day, and I just wasn't getting better.
How long was this
And
going on for?
so when I track it back, I think the migraines started in residency. And over time, over several years, little things, I say little, kept adding.
Hmm.
Then I got some, my body would hurt and I developed this tinnitus and then vertigo. And, I can't remember the order of things, but it was
Hmm.
really over a period of time that I developed all of these symptoms. And when I track it back, though, I remember the migraines where I would just, I'm a radiologist in a dark room, but I would have to actually go to a completely dark room and just like shut the door and just have quiet. I mean, my would be nauseous. I'd see spots. I mean, it was just banging head. It was terrible. So it was really over several years that all of this occurred. The paresthesias were probably one of the later symptoms to develop, and that was really when I was in practice as an attending radiologist. And I started to also have some thought processes that were really didn't serve me. Initially just lots of things like, "What's the matter with you?" And "You're a mess," and all the way to like, "I can't take another day feeling this way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to be here anymore." Which, as I say it, is just, I can't even believe I'm saying it. So all of this was affecting me physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. Just the whole me was just, I didn't recognize myself anymore. And I was already exercising a lot and I was already eating what I thought was a really healthy diet. And I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, none of my colleagues can figure this out. I got to figure this out. I don't want to end up like three of my colleagues who had died from suicide, three
Are
physician
you
friends.
kidding me? Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was playing on my mind. Okay, what was their story exactly that led to that? I don't know, but I know that I'm not okay. And I
Did
know
you
that
have any clue what this was coming from?
no, I didn't. Not at the time. Not at the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And I was busy. I had two amazing little kids, a great husband, a beautiful home to take care of, my dog. I was involved in my community. I was involved in the hospital. I was involved in so many things. These things come, you just, okay,
Yeah.
let me go see someone for this. I got a pill for that. All right. You can't really figure it out, and I didn't know where it
Right.
was coming from at the time. Now that I have the wide angle lens, I do. But at the time, I was really, in the
Yeah, your body
microscopic
was
view of
screaming
things,
at you, Robyn. It's
screaming,
screaming at you.
screaming. And I wasn't listening. I wasn't
Yeah.
listening for a while. I wasn't listening the way I needed to be
Hmm.
listening. And so I started to hear more and more about things like yoga, things like meditation, things that I thought were really ridiculous. And, you know, when I'm at the gym and I was training for a race and I'd see those people down the hall going to that room and shutting the door, and I imagine them in strange clothes, in weird positions, listening to bizarre music. What the heck do I need that for? And that was my perception, and that was what many people who are listening may think as well, because it's
Right.
really common, right?
Right.
And so but I have to say, Jennifer, that there was this anthropology professor that was teaching this 101 yoga meditation series at a nearby studio. And I think my left brain really liked the fact that she was someone that I found authentic and credible in my mind, that she
Mm.
wasn't some Molly Moonbeam weirdo that was going to be leading this thing. I'm like, okay, well, she's an anthropology professor at the local university. Like, there's got to be something to this.
Huh?
But I was still skeptical.
Yeah.
And so I asked my next door neighbor who's a nurse, and I said, hey, you want to go do this thing with me? And I'm like eye rolling, telling her about it. And she's eye rolling, listening to me. But she's like, sure. I said, look, if it's terrible, we'll leave and I'll buy you dinner. And
Yeah.
she said, all right, good deal. So he signed up for this thing. And I remember the day so, so clearly. I remember reading umpteen cases and doing several procedures and coming home exhausted and, feeding my little kids and bathing my kids and handing them off to my husband. And, with one eye partially open, driving to the studio to get there for 7:30 class, the whole time saying, what am I doing? This is so ridiculous. What a waste of my time. I'm exhausted. But I went. And I walked in, I remember like not even looking around, not making eye contact, tail between the legs. And by the end of the first session, everything switched. It's like someone sprinkled pixie dust. I don't know what
You
happened.
have
I'm
got to
thinking,
be
what happened?
kidding me.
I am not tired anymore. How am I awake? I am focused. My body doesn't hurt. I'm calm. What the heck happened? So that was my introduction into I'm feeling pretty good right now. I didn't take any pills. I didn't have any therapy. What just happened?
Yeah.
And that was my left brain now needing to dive into figuring out why I started to feel better from something like this.
Yes.
And that was when I realized, based in my studies, based in the research, based in my having my nose in books, that my nervous system was totally dysregulated, and that I was learning how to bring my autonomic nervous system back into balance, to balance those two key components, the stress response and the relaxation response, where my stress response was on overdrive,
Hmm.
causing me to feel all these symptoms. Because as I continued to take these classes, and as I continued to actually dive into my studies around this, all of my symptoms went away. Everything, including the paresthesias, including the dark thoughts, everything I described to you dissipated without me needing medications or procedures or therapy in any way. And so, as a Western medicine trained physician, I believe in Western medicine wholly and completely, and I'm grateful for it. But what was going on with me, wasn't what I needed from that. It was
Right.
something else. And that is the beginning of my journey here.
I'm speechless. I think it's such a powerful story, and you didn't have any clue. I mean, I always talk about our symptoms, our physical symptoms and things that we have is our way of our body sort of talking to us, and the mind body connection, how powerful it is. But I haven't really heard a story like yours so clear. In hindsight, obviously clear before. So did you, because there are lots of people who love being radiologists,
Mhm.
right? Like, how
Yeah.
did do you
Yeah.
think that was what? I mean, what do you think? How did you then take what you learned to recreate your life?
Yeah. It wasn't about being a radiologist. It was about, how the practice of medicine played into my everyday life. Every area of medicine has its own areas of stress,
Hmm.
which is what I had a whopping case of chronic stress. So we have our different reasons. In working with a lot of doctors, I've learned the different reasons in the different areas of medicine that cause stress and cause the issues that are going on. I think it's, having to do more work in less time. As a radiologist in particular, we were expected to do more and more cases in less and less time. That RVUs, what we were getting paid was a high priority, became
Hmm.
a really high priority. In radiology, it meant people started cutting corners and not comparing to previous studies. Patients were having to get procedures that were not needed. Things were being missed. So
Hmm.
that actually added to my stress because I want to be the best doctor I could be. And I didn't like the way medicine was changing that was causing people to cut corners. And then I became the person that all the physicians came to because they wanted me to read their patient studies and they wanted me to read their family studies and their own studies because they trusted me. But then you don't get paid for that. You don't
Right.
get, so then that was taking away from the RVUs that I was producing or not producing. And, talking to patients, talking to referring clinicians, taking time to do that. I was still that person. I was still that doctor, but you don't get paid for those things. So I
Yes.
started having my wrist slapped about being the best doctor I could be, in the way that I wanted to practice medicine. There was a lot of moral injury for me in radiology in that way.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened was technology. Technology incredibly changed. When I trained, we had films. I held them in my hand. I put them on the view box, right? We wrote on jackets. We
Yes.
carried jackets. All the teams came down every day to go over their patient studies. I was part of the team. It was intellectually stimulating, and I was able to make better diagnoses by talking to referring clinicians about their patients real time. When we became digital, so my fellowship at Jefferson, we were the beta site for the Canon PACS, one of the very first PACS. We went digital. And in one respect, it's amazing, but that took away for me my ability to interact with friend clinicians because they were now looking at everything immediately on their screens and they had my reports, which became voice activated transcription
Yep.
immediately on their screens. And so I became incredibly isolated as a human
Yeah.
and isolated in the way that I practice medicine, which meant that it was more difficult for me to diagnose things in the way that I was able to before, knowing more about the patients and what's been going on.
Yeah.
So for me in radiology, these were the very specific things that led to what I now understand to be really burnout
Hmm.
and my dissatisfaction with practicing my chosen field.
Yeah, it's interesting because those examples are specific for radiology, but the themes are universal, right? I mean, and it's
Mhm.
funny because I think I mentioned to you, my husband is also a radiologist, and
Yeah.
I'm always joking with him, like your job, you're like that old episode of I Love Lucy where the chocolates are going down the conveyor belt and then they
Yeah.
just get faster and faster. I'm like, that's what I feel like for him. Um, but
Yeah.
volume, whether it's the films or it's the patients, volume
Mhm.
is the biggest, I think, what is one of the biggest drivers for what's doing us all in. And until we fix that, there's no hope for the future of healthcare. I think that is really, really the key piece. And then
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
thing is the community. I mean, that's another thing. We really are losing community feeling. And I know some people are introverts and like to be sort of alone and isolated, but even introverts need community.
Yes, yes. And so, Social connection has been shown in the medical literature to be a key component to our health and well-being and is one of the key pillars of lifestyle medicine, which we can get into. Our
Yes.
our own Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, a few months ago put out an advisory on the damaging effects of isolation and loneliness.
Yep.
And Harvard's even done research showing that in some research studies that key component is the number one component to our health and well-being, this
Yeah.
importance of having each other. So it's not to be thought of as something that we just do on vacation or on the weekends when we have time. We actually need it. And in retrospect, when I look at how my field of medicine changed and how it hurt my health and well-being, a big piece of that was that isolation, that my field that I fell in love with and signed up for changed into this extremely isolating type of position.
Yeah. So you brought up the lifestyle medicine, which I don't want
Mhm.
to run out of time before we dig into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So
let's do it.
so tell me what that is. I think, people I've personally been to lifestyle medicine conferences because
Mhm.
it's an interest of mine. Um, but I find that most doctors have never even heard of it. And people who are
Mhm.
in that specialty feel like it's well known, but I think it's a secret that I think if we could share some information about it would be helpful.
Yeah, so lifestyle medicine is an actual specialty board certification. The National Board of Medical Examiners, it sees this as a specialty board. There's actually a board exam. And the way that I heard about it was initially through a friend of mine who was board certified in lifestyle medicine and heard about what I was doing, connected me with ACLM, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, because he believed that my area of expertise in stress relief and stress management was something that they needed to know about. And that's because the way that lifestyle medicine its focus is on prevention, reversal, and sometimes treatment of symptoms, illnesses, and diseases through important behavior changes through lifestyle. Our current medical system, as amazing as Western medicine is, and this is considered Western medicine,
Mhm.
but our current system is a disease management system.
Right.
So you come in with back pain and you get a pill or a prescription for therapy or so on. You have diarrhea, constipation, bowel habits, you get medication, you have reflux, you get medication, you have high blood pressure, you get medication, diabetes, you get medication, so on. So we are managing people's diseases through prescription medication, through procedures, through therapy, and sometimes they're warranted. But most of the time, the issues that patients are presenting to their clinicians, their healthcare providers for, up to 90% of the time, it's related to stress and the effects of stress. And that is in the medical literature.
Mhm.
So, what we come to understand is, well, how can we not only prevent, but we can actually reverse and sometimes treat these symptoms, illness, and diseases with behavior changes? Well, why is your blood pressure up? Well, why is your sugar high? Well, why do you have back pain? Well, how come you're not digesting your food? Well, how come you're not sleeping? And so on. And so we can go and figure out lots of times that there are things that individuals can do to decrease, reverse what's going on. I mean, in medical literature even shows that we can reverse heart disease, we can reverse plaque in the arteries, we can reverse diabetes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And this is what makes me really excited is that, we can help people feel better all by themselves and even prevent these things from happening to
So,
begin
Robin, it actually makes me sad that we need a specialty dedicated to this
with.
because what you're describing is really what healthcare and medicine should be. I mean, you're talking to a
Mhm.
pediatrician who really prevention is really, but even in pediatrics, so much of
Yeah.
what you describe is, we're moving into so much treating of symptoms without getting to the underlying causes. So,
Mhm.
and part of it is resistance from, the doctors are so busy and also the patients want quick fixes. Like,
Mhm.
how is what, how do you have a lifestyle medicine practice? How do you find
Mhm.
people who buy into that kind of mindset?
Yeah, I mean, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right? But you
Yeah.
have to be a little bit of a teacher. And so it's really the one thing lifestyle medicine teaches is effective behavior change. So when I work with my clients, which are predominantly physicians and other healthcare professionals, it's really creating behavior change. And you have to be at the right stage of behavior change to even make those changes. There are confidence levels that need to be built up. There is knowledge that needs to occur. And you really need to meet people where they are. And some people are really ready for it and other people aren't. But really creating that education. I didn't know how all of these factors, I didn't know the importance of stress relief, not only on the physical symptoms and emotional symptoms, but on how stress is causing the most common diseases in the world: hypertension, diabetes, stroke, heart disease, cancer progression and growth. And it even decreases our lifespan by shaving years off our life. Like, I didn't really know that. I didn't know the importance of sleep as medicine, the importance of food as medicine, the importance of movement as a medicine, and how dangerous escapes and risky substances truly are, and how important being with other people is. And so once I understood all of that and really being able to share that in a very basic way, I frequently hear from my doctors, you explain the complicated things in very simple ways. You make it so easy to digest. I think once you can wrap your head around, wow, how much is it costing me not to do these things?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come this far to only come this far.
Yeah. Now, do
Mhm.
you think, do some people, because I know, and I want to talk about what you're doing specifically, but I also want to speak to the way that a doctor who maybe is doing general medicine or pediatrics or something, do you think that we could become lifestyle medicine either certified or even educated and kind of integrate it into our own practices where we
Absolutely.
are? Like how,
Mhm.
or do you really need more time? You have to be in a setting where you need extended time with patients. What do you think?
Well, physicians are incorporating it into their existing practices, and those that feel that they are time crunched will create teams. So, primary care physicians will create teams. They will have a team approach, a dietitian, a registered dietitian, a um, exercise physiologist or a personal trainer, a psychologist, a life coach, a health coach. Different people they will bring on to create the team that they can't do all of it themselves, but the patients can then have that team to work with them and to educate them. So it could be really hard in 15 minutes to get a lot of the education in, but there are ways around. There are also group visits that physicians are doing, and they are reimbursable. So
Mhm.
some physicians are doing group visits, and whether it's they themselves or whether it's one of the other specialists they've brought in to hold those group visits to educate the patients. So the education can be provided in different ways. Some are also doing, online content. Some are offering extra courses and extra workshops and things. So it really depends on the particular doctor and how they feel it would make sense for them and their patients.
Yeah. This is, different markets, different areas have very different markets. For me, I'm on Long Island in New York, and we're still so heavily fee for service. It makes this challenging, but this is exciting for areas where they've really shifted to more of that value based, team based care, and I think has so much potential for impacting the health of our communities. So fingers crossed that this gains speed.
Yeah, it is gaining speed. And the way it's gaining speed that excites me is that programs are being placed in medical schools and residency programs. So I know locally here in Asheville, one of our hospital systems has concomitant lifestyle medicine programs. So residents are coming out able to sit for the boards, and they are learning all of this incredible information as they train to become areas in their specialty. Family practice is the one area, the one residency that has this right now locally. We also have the first medical school about an hour from me, University of South Carolina, who has implemented the lifestyle medicine program. So the medical students are getting this education early on. And that is really exciting to me, that our doctor seedlings, as I like to think of them, are learning
Yeah.
how to take care of themselves and learning how to take care of their patients in a different way. And it's becoming normal and regular and integrated immediately for them.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't realize that. I'm happy to hear it. So Robyn, as we're sort of coming towards the end, tell us a little bit. So what do you mean that you're the doctor's doctor? How are you using all of your expertise, and how can people, um, you know, work with you?
I was really drawn, Jennifer, to help our colleagues. If I didn't know it, then they don't know it. And before the upcoming board exam, I think we have about 3,000 board certified lifestyle medicine physicians. And with a million doctors in our country, that means 997,000 doctors don't know what I know.
Yeah.
And I feel that they deserve to. And that, we had this huge missing education gap. And I'm looking to fill it for anyone who's interested in learning how to take care of themselves better, to feel better physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, to lengthen their life, actually add years onto their life, healthful years onto their life, and to decrease any symptoms and illnesses they currently have or prevent them from occurring. So my coaching is a whole person approach. I founded Stress Free MD and initially focusing on the stress component, which I do see as the umbrella under which all the other pillars live, your exercise, your sleep, your social connection, your nutrition, your escapes, and so on. And that's what I coach on. It's really whatever someone comes to me for. But the doctor's doctor is, well, who's doctoring the doctor? you know Physicians who are board certified in lifestyle medicine actually don't even know how to take care of themselves because they're hiring teams to take care of their patients, and they are also my clients. And so I love helping doctors learn how to help themselves and to feel better and to live better and to enjoy their jobs again and to enjoy their lives again and to, no joke, add years onto their life. And so that's what I do, whether it be one on one coaching, whether it's group coaching, whether it's online programming, whether it's through my podcast, whether it's workshops and courses and retreats. However, doctors like to learn best, that's how I educate. And I'm currently working on a book, which is going to be my 2024 project on a lot of this. So it'll be available in hopefully 2024.
Oh, well, I will look forward to seeing that. And I also saw that you have a retreat scheduled in Africa.
Yes, yes. So, coming up, a lifestyle medicine retreat in Africa with my amazing colleague, Dr. Melissa Sunderman, known as Dr. Outdoors. She has coined nature as the seventh unofficial pillar of lifestyle medicine. Actually, published an article in our journal on that because nature is truly medicine as well. And we are really excited to offer this CME amazing safari retreat in Africa in January 2025. And we are infusing lifestyle medicine principles into our everyday life to make it a very healthful, but very fun and very incredible experience as we trek primates and we do some service projects and see animals in their natural habitat.
That sounds fabulous. Always wanted to go on a safari, so maybe I'll join you.
We
All
would
right.
love for you to join us. We would love for you to join us. The early bird is still happening, so if you want to
Okay.
catch that now.
Oh
We
boy.
have
So,
incredible healthcare professionals all joining, and some are bringing their children, and some are bringing their spouses and their partners and their grandparents. This is a really interesting group, wonderful group of individuals coming.
oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So tell us, any last words? You have any advice for people, physicians who might be listening?
Yeah. So your brain might be kind of beating yourself up right now, shoulding yourself, as I say, wipe that should off. You may
Hmm.
be like, I should know this. Like, what the heck? I should know all this. And I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. You just were never taught. We weren't taught. I wasn't taught. And it's never too late. I'm 58 years young. It's not too late. And I can tell you that I'm 16 years younger at the telomere level. I had my telomeres checked. I am 16 years younger at the cellular level than my chronologic age. It's pretty amazing. So you can reverse anything that may have occurred. Don't worry that you've done damage. Don't be upset with yourself that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm here to share with you that you can learn all of it and become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. And I'm here to help you if you'd like.
Well, Robyn, you're an inspiration. I can't believe that you had three colleagues who committed suicide. That's so horrific. I'm just so happy that you figured out what was going on with yourself and recreated a beautiful life for yourself.
Thank you. And I like to learn a language that if that I learned, which is died by suicide. And I was told by another colleague that the word commit, when I used it, sounds like an act of
Mhm.
violence. And so I've learned to change my language around that, which also feels better. We say someone dies from a heart attack,
Right.
someone dies from a cancer. So we say someone dies from suicide. And when we said die by suicide, that's also kind of an act. So we say died from suicide. And it makes it just like a disease, like anything else, that a brain malfunctions sometimes. And just like the pancreas, just like the heart, just like the liver. So I always like to share that language because I learned that language from someone and it's changed the way I feel about it and it changed the way I share it. So wanted to
Yeah,
share
I
that here as
love
well.
I absolutely love that, and I'm going to adopt it. So, thank you
Thank you.
again so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
All right, so that's it for today. Again, thank you to all the listeners for choosing to spend your precious time with us. I hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to see you again on the next episode of Reinventing the White Coat.